The United Commercial Auto Works Limited, or UCAL, is owed $19 million, and this is due to late payments from its main client, the Transport Board. General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, Senator Sir Roy Trotman, has also accused the board of farming out the maintenance of vehicles to service providers other than UCAL. He says they're paid $90 an hour, compared with $75 an hour paid to UCAL. He also claimed the company was being sabotaged, though not saying by who. Speaking in the Upper House on Day 3 of discussion of the Appropriation Bill 2014, he says UCAL workers are now idle and behind in mandatory payments to government. Sir Roy says the situation is a travesty.
It is something like this which is now going to cause social upheaval, because workers from a poor family, not understanding where to go or how to go, will turn against anything or anything that comes along. And indeed, that has been the history of UCAL. Late payments from our main client, the Transport Board, and if we get late payments from them, we have to pay national insurance late. So you pay national insurance late, and then you get a penalty slapped on you. Slapped on you to the extent that even now as we speak, we are before the High Court to have to answer charges brought against us for non-payment by the NIS.
Senator Trotman says the matter needs urgent attention.
If we do not work much more aggressively at endeavoring to make worker ownership, gain sharing schemes, information sharing programs, if we do not attempt to make these part of the current history, the current relationship that we enjoy, then the future is going to be lost. And if the government falls down, Madam President, then the private sector is going to be only too happy to follow suit.
More people are trying to access the retraining fund set up for retrenched or laid-off workers, and efforts are being made to ensure that people have easier access to the unit that administers that fund. Currently, the unit is located at the Ministry of Labour based at Warrens, but there have been complaints about people getting to that location. Labour Minister Dr. S. Tobias Sekou says the unit is to be made more accessible.
And we have had discussions with the Transport Board about ensuring that there are bus routes that could make the transport in and out of Warrens a little easier for persons. But that being said, we are also aiming to put a couple of NEB persons right there at National Insurance, so that it is easier for those unemployed persons when they go to the National Insurance and they present, then they're told to go to NEB, that they don't have to take the trek all the way to Warrens now.
Dr. Tobias Sekou says more attention will be paid to the area of prior learning, where workers don't have academic qualifications and will be accredited for their work experience. She adds that a competency fund will be set up.
That is going to afford partnerships between employers and training providers, where you can make an arrangement for up to, I think it is 80,000, but you can make arrangements for partnerships, for training, and again, certification is going to be an important part of that, and promoting the soft skills, where you would be demonstrating your knowledge and skills, and for that competency that you show, you would be certified. And the money is there through the Human Resource Development Strategy. This is an EU-funded program.
Opposition Senator Wilfred Abrams says he's convinced that government's strategy to address the economic challenges the country faces will not stimulate economic growth. He called the estimates a hoax, while expressing concern about the absence of growth in the economy.
Layoffs, ma'am, cannot stimulate growth. Increased taxes will not stimulate growth. Uncertainty will not stimulate growth. The vacillation of the government will not stimulate growth. The deviation of the government from all its stated policies will not stimulate growth.
The opposition senator also took issue with the municipal solid waste tax. He described it as a perversion and said it should not be included in the estimates.
The tax appears in the estimates, although there's no legal basis for it being there. If they validate it later, then fine, they validate it. But the fact is, as it stands, it should not be in the estimates, ma'am. Stop propping up the figures of revenue government is expected to receive on a fictitious basis. When it is validated, then put it in. It is not yet, it can't go in now.
Staff at the Barbados Water Authority should be able to move into new and improved facilities in the Pine by April next year. This has been disclosed by project manager with the BWA, Stephen Lindo. He was speaking after a tour of the new headquarters, which is under construction. Mr. Lindo says significant progress has been made on the project, which is 50% complete and looks likely to be complete within time and budget.
The budget estimated to be, the construction cost was $44.7 million. Then there are some soft costs, interest payments during construction, legal fees, bond issue fees, etc. And this is an overall budget of $63 million. The funding came from ANSA Merchant Bank of Trinidad at 95% and 5% equity from the Intech Service Limited.
Mr. Lindo says the building is being designed with conservation in mind, but will have improvements for staff, including a gym and aftercare for their children. Minister of Water Resources, Dr. David Estwick, led a team of officials on that site visit. He told reporters afterwards he was extremely pleased at the progress made on the project.
We believe very strongly that you'll get better production if you have staff that are more comfortable within the environment within which they work. And to have facilities where, for the first time, you would have staff members having their own lockers, having proper cafeteria, having their own facilities to change, to having recreational facilities, having the sports facilities. That must improve, without a doubt, the overall capabilities of the staff to function together, work together, build relationships together, and also build relationships with management.
Barbados joined several other countries and territories in testing their tsunami preparedness with a simulation drill as part of Carib Wave 2014. Kishmar Sanjus now has the details.
Barbados tested its tsunami preparedness by evacuating a school along the west coast this morning. An alert was issued based on a hypothetical magnitude 8.5 earthquake off the coast of Portugal, which required the implementation of the tsunami response plan. The Ministry of Education and Response then issued an evacuation notice for the St. James Primary School. The ringing of bells at 19 minutes to 10 signaled the start of the drill, led by the Department of Emergency Management.
The children did extremely well. The evacuation commenced at approximately 9:41 this morning, and the children got up here within 10 minutes to their assembly points. This activity, as I said, is one of the highlights of our month of activities, and our activities will conclude on Saturday and Sunday.
The drill attracted a cross-section of first responders from across Barbados.
With us here today, we have representatives from the Barbados Fire Service. We also have representatives, of course, from the Royal Barbados Police Force. We have our volunteers, the Barbados Radio Citizens Band Association, and we also have some volunteers from the Department of Emergency Management. We were able to test our communications between the agencies and the Ministry of Education with regards to the evacuation this morning.
Principal June Skeet welcomed it, saying they were preparing for it for some time.
We developed our evacuation plan and we executed it well today. We have present today 228 students, 18 members of staff, teachers, and then we had 7 ancillary staff. And apart from one teacher and one janitor, every other person is accounted for.
For the students of St. James Primary School who quickly made their way to Trent's Great House, it was a learning experience.
We getting two lines and run out, so they run very fast. Then we went through the gate and run up the hill. We went and just up the hill and passed out the body.
We orderly went out through the gate.
That separates St. James Secondary and St. James Primary. Where the tsunami is coming, we have to go to higher ground.
Kishmar Sanjis, CBC News.
The police are at this hour on the scene of what's been described as a serious accident along Newbury Road in St. George. CBC News understands that a man who up until news time was not identified was seriously injured after he was thrown from this motorcycle just after 6 this evening. Police were quick on the scene in their numbers to contain the crowd as emergency medical technicians treated the injured man. He was subsequently taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance. Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite is warning young men not to be taken in by the seemingly glamorous lifestyle of prison. Mr. Brathwaite said he was alarmed by a news clip in the Monday night edition of the CBC Evening News, where young men on remand were waving to family and friends as they boarded a prison van. Speaking to male students from secondary schools across the island at the National Task Force on Crime Prevention's annual Boys to Men project, the Minister of Home Affairs said prison is not a fun thing.
Guys are being led away to prison and waving like if they're pop stars. There is something wrong with that. And if you guys saw it, I want you to know that that's not the way. That's not the way. The same guys who you're seeing being so positive and waving and stuff, when you go to the police station, you can't hear what they're saying. They call you and they say, Mr. Brathwaite, come, I want to see you. You go and you sit down and you can't hear what they're saying because they're so scared. You go into prison and you see them, you can't hear what they're saying either. So don't be fooled by them that life and what they're doing that is so glamorous and that in fact that they have no fear. So if you saw what I saw, I'm telling you there's another side of the story.
Children are speaking a totally different language and parents are being encouraged to learn it. This from Magistrate Barbara Cook-Allen, who was addressing parents at a PTA meeting at the Les Devon School. She also wants them to monitor how their children use their cell phones, noting that it is a crime to use these devices to harass others or for sexting. Magistrate Cook-Allen wants them to pay close attention to the text codes and slang used by children.
Everybody knows LOL, right? Okay. Who knows POS or 9? POS or 9? Yes, parent over shoulder. He knows the codes. FWB. You're very knowledgeable. I have to talk to you. Do you know this one? 8. Yes. Can't answer that one. Oral sex. Okay, so you know that one. Yeah. And of course you should know 420. Which is marijuana, weed.
Meantime, according to Magistrate Cook-Allen, it still takes a village to raise a child, and she's concerned that the concept of caring for each other's children appears to have been lost.
We forgot to be our brother's keeper, and that is pretty important today still. How did we get back there? I'm not sure. We've left the village physically. We live in our terraces and our heights. We know our neighbor's car number. We might not know what they look like or the name, but we know their car number. They live down the street. And we've lost that sense of commitment to our fellow persons.